Hey guys, how y'all doing? It's me, it's Jacqueline. Jacq for my friends that I'm here adventuring every day. And I just thought I would pop in. I just wanted to talk, I guess. At the beginning I wanted to put a little clip in. I was showing you my little corner here and my building. It's gone through a metamorphosis. It started out as an office years ago, and now it's kind of a cottage slash greenhouse garden room. I don't have enough windows in here, so I do have some little, we found a little shelf this year because it's my first year that I've had this spot to try to get my plants started. And yeah, it's working out pretty good. As you can see, I've up potted some of my squash and things, and yeah, just waiting. It's still have a couple more weeks before it's for our last projected frost date here, and then if I can make it, I'm gonna wait a little bit longer before I try to set out tomatoes and peppers and such. But anyway, it's working out. We got some of the little cheap grow lights just to keep they're more for warmth in here, but it's heated up a little bit today. Whew. But anyway, so what I wanted to say, let me slow down a minute. What came into my mind today is, in this gardening journey that we're on, and a lot of people that I watch on YouTube, and I glean so much information, and I'm so thankful for them. They're homesteading, and they have acreage, and they're outside of town, or they're working to be outside of town, and they may only have an acre or two, but you know, they're working towards a larger goal. And what I wanted to say is, you know, I live in town. Both of our homes are basically smaller. Mine is the smaller of the two as far as land mass. Now, I have a good sized yard, I do, but it's still a yard in town. It's not an acre or two outside of town. I am actually 1 mile from my little town's courthouse, and so I'm suburban as far as that goes. And I know so many people, when we start thinking about gardening and you know, being a little bit more self-sufficient, not 100% maybe, I mean, that would be lovely, but you know, for a lot of us at this juncture, that's out of reach, so to speak. And you know, get a little drink here. But we start where we're at, and sometimes where we're at is where we're going to be. I mean, because the fact is, I own my home, and I have no desire to get rid of it. Now, we also we have a place in, you know, John's place in Mississippi, and we travel back and forth because of family. And the idea of having a larger place, if we were in one place, that would be fabulous. But the fact is that right now we are kind of transient, not in the way of like a van lifer would be, but for us, we spend time in both places. So having one large place wouldn't work right now. So we're working with what we have. And what I have here is a house in town with a backyard. I got a front yard too. And that said, I can have a fabulous garden, and I can grow food. You don't have to have 5 acres or 10 acres or even 2, you know. You work with what you have. And if you're in an apartment and you have a window and grow lights or a balcony and some beds or pots, you can grow. You can grow tomatoes, you can grow lettuces, you can grow there's dwarf cucumbers. There's all sorts of things that you can grow in a small space. And so that's what I say, don't be discouraged and think that you can't do it because you don't have acreage and you don't have a huge area. You work with what you've got, and you know, that's the blessing. And whenever you're more or less on your own, the majority of the time, as I am, I need something that I can work with, which is a combination of raised beds, in ground, some pots, And that's what works for me. And I want you to know, you do what works for you. You see people and they have a fabulous, ginormous garden or farm, and you think, oh, that's what I want. And so, but that's not what you have right now. And so instead of working with what you have and being and embracing that small start, you give up before you even started. And I don't want you to give up. I want you to embrace what you have. And what you learn in that small space is going to benefit you long term. So you are either one, you're going to say, oh man, this isn't for me, or this is what I can handle and I'm enjoying this, but I don't know if I could do more. This is where I want to be. Or two, oh my gosh, I love this. This is what my calling. This is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. And I am ready to take the next step, because you've learned how to sow your seeds. You've learned how to start your vegetable plants on your own without having to go buy starts at the garden center. You've learned which is more worthwhile to sow the seeds, or just go ahead and buy a few starts. You've learned what works for you in a small area with a smaller budget, because we have to realize that the bigger you grow, the more output to get, the more you have to put out of your pocket book, so to speak, to pull out of the ground. It doesn't just go, it's not the same price. You get bigger, you grow bigger and better price tag too. But if you start small, you're able to start gathering those things that you need, or knowing what's important and what's not. Does that make sense? It's really been on my heart today, is to work with what you've got, and don't be afraid to work with what you have. Don't think that it's not enough. That parable about the different workers, and they left their taskmaster, their master. He left them each with a number of talents, which was their money. But talents are your talents, really, if you want to look at it that way, as a parable, what they were capable of doing. And to each one, it's like the first one worker, he gave a larger portion to, because he was already working a larger area and had more authority, had more people going on, so he had more to work with, and he put all that back in, and he doubled his money. And then you go in there, and there was a second one, he had a little bit smaller area, but he was still going, and he put his in, and he was able to make money. And then there was the one with the smallest amount, and the smallest amount of seniority, and instead of taking the opportunity, he just hid it away and didn't do anything. So it's kind of like he had his little, his house in town with his little handkerchief-sized lawn, so to speak, or his apartment with a balcony. Instead of getting a raised bed and planting those dwarf tomatoes or something, or some lettuces or some herbs, and learning about fertilizer and about sunlight and about temperatures and about seasons, he sat there and went, oh, I'm scared to do anything. And he was a disappointment. And I think it was more of a disappointment to himself than to the master. But we don't want to be a disappointment. I don't want to disappoint myself. I want to use what I've got at my disposal. And I want you to do the same thing. It's so important. It's like we hear different things, and something it's resonated with me it's probably been a couple of years since the first time I heard her say it. Jess on Roots and Refuge, she says, turn your waiting room into a classroom. And that just resonated with me the first time I heard her say that. I was like, that is so true. Instead of just waiting there and doing nothing and grieving because I don't have something, I need to take this time and I need to learn more about what I want. I need to take a little bit, you know, and learn with a couple of plants until I can have my 100 plants. And I just wanted to share that with y'all today as I sit here in my little cabin in my backyard with my little corner, with my little greenhouse from the farm store that we got on sale, and the little lights, the little grow lights that are this long with one strip of LEDs that we bought online on sale, along with the red Solo cups and the disposable bake pans. Use what you have. Learn as much as you can. Get your hands in the dirt and find the joy where you're at today. And yeah, that's just what I wanted to say, and I felt like I needed to share that with y'all. Because when I pump myself up, I want to share it with someone else. And I love this. I love the garden. I grew up with grandparents, my dad's parents. My grandfather, he had a little truck farm, 10 acres, and he grew watermelons and tomatoes were his biggies. And he grew those watermelons and he sold them on the side of the road, and tomatoes by the bushel, and then the rest of the garden. And then my Jacq, which was my mother's mother, she'd been widowed when my mother was only 10 years old, and she had a garden to survive. That was, you know, they had a garden, and that's how they lived. That helped them so much, because, you know, there wasn't anything there. It was a small town, and you made do, you worked, you got from your land that you had. And I thank goodness I don't have to, I'm not dependent upon my backyard garden at this juncture in time. Who knows what tomorrow brings? But I don't see that happening, but it could. And because of the things that I learned from my grandparents that I didn't even realize I was learning at the time, that I didn't know how much stuck with me, I'm out here growing a garden today, and I have been, and it's got me, honestly, when we say the best therapy's dirt, it's got me through some tough times. Getting out in some sunshine and fresh air and a little dirt underneath my fingernails has given me peace when the world couldn't give it to me. And I want others to know about that and give it a whirl. Maybe it's not for them, but just maybe it is. So with that, I want you to know that we love each and every one of you, and we mean it. You're awesome and you're amazing. Tell somebody that you love them, because we all need to hear that. And we'll talk to y'all again later. Bye-bye.